Welcome to the 2019-20 induction program. That's a big applause, by the way. All right. We're really excited to have all of you newly hired teachers in our induction program. This evening is really just an opportunity, obviously, to review the program with you, but then also to get to know a little bit better your mentor and your mentee. That's a huge part of this and making it a successful induction program this year. Reason I am on microphone, because I have a big booming voice, is that we are recording this session this evening. So it's going to be available for anyone we continue to hire, and we need to give them this video to get them into the induction program late. My name's Jack Hurd. I feel like I met a lot of you, but we've been so crazy with hiring this year that I think I talked to people on the phone, and we did a lot of, and it's all good stuff, a lot of good hiring, a lot of growth in our intermediate unit. I'm the Director of Human Resources. I've actually started here at the intermediate unit back in late 2012, so I'm coming up on my 7th anniversary here at the intermediate unit. I can tell you that you really joined an organization that, as I mentioned before, is in growth mode right now. So we are every year not only replacing staff, and trust me, some of the staff that we've had retire over the last 3 or 4 years were just absolutely tremendous for us. So we're replacing them with some great new blood, I guess, new IU employees into the family. We're also growing, so we are adding programs, adding classrooms, adding services, and we're doing that at a very quick rate. I think I mentioned, for those of you who were at our Welcome Back meeting over at North Penn, I think that week we hired 5 pre-K counts teachers in a record-setting pace, and they're all just, is this a double table, pre-K counts? They put their tables together, so they're all here with us tonight and getting started on their induction into their intermediate unit, so a very exciting time. Want to start off this evening just to bring up Dr. Landis. Dr. Landis is our Assistant Executive Director, and we just wanted to make sure he wanted to give you just a welcome here to the intermediate unit. So here you go, Brad.
Thank you. I started here at the intermediate unit a couple of months before Jack did, and so this is my 7th opportunity to welcome new teachers, new talent to our staff. It's like an NFL team. We keep bringing in talent every year and replenishing. So welcome. I think you'll find this to be a very special place to work. I've found that in my 4 or 5 different career stops throughout my career that the type of people that are drawn to work in an intermediate unit are very special. They are child-centered, they are selfless, and they are really a pleasure to work with and to collaborate with and to lead. So we welcome you to our organization. I think many of you have already seen our mission. What we do here is try and provide services to our districts, provide services to children from 3 to 24, provide leadership and help districts with vision and growth and continuous improvement, and we do that in many different ways. Some of you who went through our new employee orientation session have seen this slide, but this slide's a couple of years old, but it gives you an idea if you have to answer the question, who are we? Well, we have this beautiful conference center and office space here in Norristown. We have the Early Learning Academy in our old building. We have the Anderson School on Trooper Road, but these are places where we have direct service locations, whether it's early intervention, Head Start, non-public schools, pre-K counts, school-age services, and transition job sites for students that are going through transition and exiting out of the K-12 system. And this is the growth that we've experienced in the last few years is not represented here, but we're all over the county. We're in every school district. And so most of our folks like you don't come to this building. They're out across the county. And we really rely on you to be our ambassadors, because intermediate units, there's 29 of us in the state, and when we were first created in the 70s, there was some funding associated with that, and districts were required to use intermediate units. Well, there's no longer funding, and districts are no longer required to use us. So you are our ambassadors, you are our marketing people, you're out there touching students, you're interacting with administrators and other teachers, and you're the face of the IU that can portray the kind of organization and the services that we want to portray, so folks want to use us. And so I encourage you to take that very seriously as you go through your time with us. And so I hope you find this year-long experience to be worthwhile, getting to know some of your other colleagues a little bit better, picking up some strategies and tools to make you a better teacher or therapist or whatever your position is, and that you find us rewarding. So once again, welcome, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gaffney for the next session.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to our induction program. One of my fondest memories is really starting as a teacher and going to an induction program and realizing that, wow, I wasn't the only one that was thinking the things I'm thinking right now, or feeling the things that I'm feeling, and struggling and grappling with the things that come with either starting the profession, or for many of you, not starting the profession, but coming to a place, a new stop along the way, just like Dr. Landis has had a couple paths along his career. For some of you, you're not a new teacher, new to the profession, but you're new to the intermediate unit. And anytime that happens, there's a certain level of uncertainty, but also excitement, and with that comes an opportunity for us to bring you all together in the same room, and your mentors alongside you, and start to find out, who are these other people that are joining the intermediate unit along with me, some who may be just like me, or some may be a little bit different, and we learn from one another. So we're going to do a really quick introduction activity, and it's designed to be very quick because there are many of you in the room. And ready. Thank you. All right, so whipping around the room, mentors get the mic. Mentors very quickly introduce. Here we go. First one.
This is Kathleen Welsh. She's a behavior analyst, and her favorite food is candy.
This is Leah Finlay. When she's not being a PT, she's spinning pottery, making bowls.
Hi, this is Grace Cochran. She's a physical therapist, and her favorite place on earth is her new home.
This is Katie Potts. She's a pre-K count teacher, and her favorite superhero is Iron Man. This is Casey Ligori. She is at pre-K counts, and her favorite food is chicken parm.
This is Rachel Harmon. She's a pre-K counts teacher, and her favorite place on earth is anywhere with her family.
This is Alyssa Armagast. She is a pre-K counts teacher, and she loves anything pasta.
This is Marissa Mazza. She is a teacher in Cheltenham, and her favorite superhero is Thor because he's really cute.
This is Angelia Hulick. She's a pre-K counts teacher, and her favorite hobby is water skiing.
This is Brooke. She's an early intervention speech pathologist, and her favorite hobby is playing kickball.
This is working. This is Jillian, and she's an EI speech therapy, and her favorite superhero is Wonder Woman.
This is Michelle Cooley. She's the adaptive phys ed teacher for the AS and MDS classrooms, and her favorite place on earth is either Paris, France, or her bed.
This is Tracy Pumo. She is teaching grades 3 to 4 in the intensive emotional support at ELA, and her favorite food is crabs and pizza.
This is Zachary Verbin. He's the EI social worker, and his favorite superhero is Spider-Man.
This
This is Stephanie Solomon. She's the new EI school psych, and her favorite hobby is traveling.
This is Lindsay Spangler. She's an early intervention ongoing case manager. Her favorite place to be is anywhere with her boys, but especially at the beach.
This is Carrie Duke. She's also an ongoing early intervention case manager, and her favorite food is Mexican.
So I have two mentees. This is Nicole Buckman, and her favorite hobby is snowboarding. And this is Tish Gravetti, and her favorite place on earth is the beach. And they're both school age OTs. Thank you.
Hi, this is Krista DiPaolo. She's an early intervention occupational therapist, and her favorite superhero is Wonder Woman.
Hello, this is Liz Fidelli, and she is an itinerant caring support teacher, school age, and her favorite superhero is Captain America.
Okay, this is Kristen Piazza. Me too. She is also itinerant school age hearing support. She's been with us since February. And her favorite food is Pepperidge Farm goldfish crackers.
Any particular one? Rainbow? Anything?
This is Adriana Savarese. She's a school counselor, and her favorite hobby is planning vacations.
And this is Erin McCurdy. She's a new school psychologist who actually doesn't even start till next Monday. And her favorite place is Cape May with her family.
I got everybody right. Awesome. Give yourself a round of applause. Very nice. Very nice. So next time you run into somebody that you saw in induction, you can go, yeah, Wonder Woman or chicken parm, right? Something fun for you to remember faces and tonight together. The next thing that we want to do is also make sure that everyone is able to benefit from some of the learning and some of the orientation or onboarding that has already happened. As Jack mentioned earlier, our hiring cycle is never ending, it's ongoing. New employee orientation is something that we offer to staff in traditional time of year, beginning of the school year. But what happens is that what we realize is then we come to induction, and not everybody had a chance to do that. So what we started to do was we started to take advantage of the people that have been to new employee orientation and use those folks as kind of an assistant in kind of sharing and onboarding with some of you who didn't get a chance to participate. So we're going to do a little activity to make sure that those of you that weren't at new employee orientation get to benefit from the learnings that the others did have. So what you see up here is a list of folks who were at new employee orientation. Raise your hand if you're on that list. I know you are, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to put you around the room in pairs, and we're going to kind of create stations, learning stations, where we're going to have an opportunity to talk just a little bit for a couple minutes about what you took away from new employee orientation and what your first few days, weeks, months on the job has looked like. So here's what we would like you to do. In your groups, we've crafted a couple guiding questions. Here are your guiding questions for the conversation. What do you like about your job in the organization? For those of you that were new employee orientation, you got to learn a lot more about the organization than we'll tackle tonight, because tonight's about induction and the teaching part of the profession. What surprised you during your first few weeks on the job? Everybody can weigh in on that. And then how do you see your job relating to MCIU's mission? Again, those of you that were in new employee orientation got a little bit deeper learning around the mission, but Dr. Landis did share it with tonight, and our mission being grounded in service to those in the county around educational needs. But these are going to be your three guiding questions. So we'll give you a couple of minutes, and then we're going to take some sharing from the groups. So go ahead. Yes. So we'd like to bring you back together. Sounds like you're having really good conversations. So we'll look for a volunteer to answer a couple of the questions. Just get a couple of you to share. Who has something from their group that they thought was really nice to share about what people like about their job in the organization? Who would like to share something related to the first question?
We all said that we like our coworkers, which is important, and we feel supported in each of our roles. We all had the same answer.
Who would like to share something about the question about what surprised you in the beginning of your work?
So last year I was hired in October, so I didn't necessarily see the beginning of the school year. So this is my first year doing the beginning, and it's so crazy. I was expecting it to be, but it's just insane. But having like a team that actually supports you and a supervisor, you know, that you can go to, it's very helpful.
And who would like to share their conversation around the mission? How do you see, or how does an individual see the connection between their work, their role, their contribution in the IU mission?
I think I was just saying, like, with the whole like leadership aspect and showing our schools, our districts, our private schools, our early intervention families who we are, so I just started my 11th year here, and I feel like as an IU, we are expected to be the next level. And the districts are turning to us because even though they are professionals, they're coming to us for that leadership. The families are coming to us for where they're starting their journey in special education. The county is turning to us to do like Head Start and pre-K counts. Like we're up here, or we're expected to be, and that's what we need to strive to be.
I know, right? Come on, seriously. Jack, we're done here. We're done here. Thank you very much. And I think there's probably nothing else or more powerful that could be said other than the words of a seasoned MCIU employee, really highlighting how critically important your role is every day in the work that we do. And I love that you use the word leadership because each of you in your own role, from your own lens, is a leader in some way, shape, or form. And we saw that in you, and that's why you're here, and that's why we're asking you to teach the children that we serve, or to provide the related services to the children that we serve. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for taking some time to do that and to share the wisdom from new employee orientation with those who may not have been able to be there. And we're going to continue through induction program. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
All right, let's all give Donna a big hand. I always love when she facilitates. Oh. Yeah. If you ever get a chance to see her at work for a full day of professional development, just really great. It's one of the special things we have at the intermediate unit is we have an Office of Professional Learning, and that group just does tremendous work, both for our own staff, but then out in the districts and working with all of them as well. So we are very fortunate that we have probably some of the best trainers and facilitators out there. So nice little plus we have here at the intermediate unit. One thing I think we neglected to do earlier as we were doing introductions was we do have some supervisors, and I don't want to let them off the hook. So I'm going to really quick run the microphone back, and I'm going to start here on the far left, and she's going to get off her phone as I'm walking towards her. If you guys can just go down the line, this is all of our supervisors, not all of them I shouldn't say, but a lot of our supervisors here at the intermediate unit. So if you guys can just say who you are and what you do here at the intermediate unit.
Hi, I'm Kendall Glauner. I'm the Assistant Director, one of them, in the Office of Student Services. My official title is Assistant Director for Program Development. I work very closely with Kyle Longacre, who's the Program Administrator for College and Career Readiness, around workforce development and professional development within the office.
Hi, I'm Brittany Larwood. I'm the Director in the Office of Student Services.
Hi, I'm Brittany Gambone. I am the Program Administrator for Autistic Support, grades 5 through age 21, and all of Transition Services.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Tenor. I'm the Program Administrator for Intensive Emotional Support at the ELA building. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Dan Curry, Assistant Director in the Office of Student Services, School Age Special Ed.
Hello, I'm Avi Koffler. I'm the Program Administrator of Mental Health Services in the Office of Student Services.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Smarecki. I'm one of the program administrators in early intervention, working under Dr. Acosta and Lorinda Moore.
Hi, I'm Chris Stewart. I'm one of the program administrators for early intervention, working also under Dr. Acosta and Lorinda Moore. Thank you.
I'm Lorinda Moyer, the Assistant Director of Early Childhood, working under Dr. Acosta, and oversee early intervention, Head Start, and pre-K counts.
Hi, everybody. My name is Hannah Messner. I'm the Assistant Director of Human Resources. I'm pretty sure I met all of you guys in your second round interviews. I actually work under Jack Hurd.
Hi, Holly Acosta, Director of Early Childhood. I don't work with any of them. Don't believe me. Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Jonna Weller. I'm a Program Administrator in the Office of Professional Learning with Donna Gaffney.
Hi, everyone. My name's Rebecca DeSantis. I'm the pre-K count supervisor. I will work under Lorinda and Holly Acosta as well. And I actually had 7 returning teachers and 7 new teachers. So my entire state teaching staff is here tonight.
So you have, you got a lot of work to do this year. All right, and I'm looking at this group. We have a lot of new administrators going back, 18 months, but particularly new. Bruce, you're last month, right? You're August. Avi is 3 weeks. 4 weeks. And Jonna, Monday? I don't know. 3 weeks. I'm kidding. 3 weeks. So we are also, as an administration, have a lot of new faces here. So it's definitely an exciting time. So anyway, my conversation this evening, I just want to talk a little about what this whole new teacher induction is. And we're going to jump into the schedule a little bit here. But just so you all are clear, as much as this is also, something we love to do and it's really important, this is also part of the tenure process in the state of Pennsylvania. So this is actually something that we make sure you get a certificate at the end of. It's something that down the road then would be required for anybody going for their instructional 2 certificate. And also it's part of our whole tenure process. So all of you are at the start of, or I think we have a couple of folks who came over from last year's at the end of the year, but you're at the start of a 3-year cycle, and you are in what's called formal observation for that period of time. So you will receive 6 semi-annual evaluations, and that actually leads to what's called tenure. So if you are, and I know we do have some individuals here who are not certified through the PDE, Pennsylvania Department of Education, but for all those who are, that's exactly what then this process is part of. So you're being, as part of the induction, you're also now going to be also getting the formal evaluations on a semi-annual basis. But this is really kind of a critical time in terms of making sure you come on, you really feel part of our family here at the immediate unit, and that we have somebody in your mentor that you can reach out to, that you can actually feel comfortable going to, and hopefully your supervisor is also in that category, but really somebody you can work with, and that's really the key here as you begin this induction process. In terms of our calendar this year, we actually changed it up a little bit. I know there's a lot of words on here. This is also in the folders for the inductees. But basically, here's our opening meeting. So we're here October 2nd in Valley Forge A&B. We do have office meetings that are going to occur. The first office meetings is broken up into, actually all of them are going to be broken up this year. Student services, and that's going to be on November 11th. Please make sure all these get on your calendar. We certainly be sending you emails as well. And early learning is going to be on November 20th. We're also at the same time, you're going to be working with your mentor. And then we have a second office meeting that's going to be early in 2020. So for student services, that'll be on the 13th, and early learning is going to be on the 22nd. And I don't know why it says 28, it should be an ND there. And then we also have some other due dates there. In March, we actually have student services on the 2nd, early learning on the 25th. And then we have some due dates down there as well. So mentors and mentees, that really, as you move through 2019-20, that's kind of what your calendar looks like. So please make sure that all gets on there. Frankly, the office meetings are going to be obviously topic-based, but there are always going to be time at those meetings as well for the mentor and the mentee to also meet and talk and work through their steps. All right? Is there any questions on this? All right, great. So this is a fairly busy year. Ultimately, the fun is at the end here for sure. On May 11th, we're going to have a closing meeting, which is going to be here, and we're going to have a little celebration because that is the last formal piece of induction that happens as part of the 1920 process. All right. And then before you get a certificate, we need to do some log hours. In terms of the forms, they should also be in your folder, and I know I think John is going to run with our mentors in a bit here about some of their roles as a mentor, but that's going to start in a little while. But the Induction Program Collaborative Meeting Framework is a form that we have that really is a great tool for you. It actually has some of the domains at the bottom, so you can kind of see them as well. But the actual induction process does build off having these kind of meetings and collaboration. And this is a really good form that we'd ask you to kind of complete as you're working with your mentor and the mentee relationship. Additionally, we have peer observation forms. These are also, I think there's a sample in there as well for you there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I think, when we get the mentees alone. But in here is actually when you're out there doing the observations, a form that can be completed in terms of this is based on a teacher professional one, but you can also see the other ones as well. All of you have a rubric. So if you're an instructional teacher, that rubric is actually the framework for teaching. All these are on connections, and we're going to go through that a little bit later this evening. But those rubrics are really what we should be basing the conversations, the peer observations on. It is just a really great kind of map towards what we really feel is really good professional practice. Here at the intermediate unit, we have a lot more than just instructional teachers, however, so we also have rubric for psychologists, for counselors, really whatever position you're in here. We should have a rubric that we have that kind of matches up. I know we had some more supervisors put together one for case managers in early intervention recently because their rubrics that they were using really didn't match the work that they were doing on a daily basis. So now that does actually reflect back really nicely for you. All right. So we'll go a little bit deeper into how that looks, but that's really the program itself is a lot driven by that mentor-mentee relationship, combined with some office meetings where your director and your supervisors are going to have an opportunity to go over some really important pieces of professional teaching with you as well. So that's kind of how that looks. All right. One of the things that you do need to know, particularly if you're new to your career, is Act 48. As a longtime HR person at this point, I'm 20 years in schools, but Act 48 is something which gets a lot of our teachers occasionally in trouble. It also is something that is really important that we are always on top of in terms of certification. So at this point, the Act 48 is a law that every 5 years you need to take a certain amount of professional development activities, and you gotta make sure it gets tracked, it gets to the state, and the state then keeps your certification active. If your certification does not stay active, we cannot keep you employed. So does anyone know what Act 48 is, I hope? All right. If you're certified in Pennsylvania and you don't know, that is, we need to make sure we catch you up on that. In terms of the actual Act 48, I do have a quiz to make sure you guys do know what it is because it's important to us. So I said educators must earn the following every 5 years in order to remain compliant with Act 48. 6 credits of collegiate study, 6 credits of PDE-approved CPE courses, 180 hours in continuing professional education, or any of the combination above. Anyone have the answer to that? What's that? D, yes, it is D. Yes, any of those combination of above would work. So basically, make sure as you're doing this, you need to end up with 180 hours. Any combination of those would get you to that point then. All right. Next question. When does the Act 48 5-year period begin for those issued certificates after July 1st, 2000? Answer is B. Well done. For those issued certificates after that, the 5-year period begins the effective date of issuance of the instructional one certificate. So if you have not been If you are just thinking, oh, I'm just starting now in my career and I've had it for some period of time, we still got to make sure we're on top of that. So the Act 48 credits definitely do have that. Have it from the start of your Instructional One certificate. All right, what's the best way for certificated employees to check on his or her Act 48 balance? Call the HR office? No. Check the PDE website or log into mylearningplan.com. A, big A on that one. This is all online now, so B is the answer on that one. So yes, that is the best way to go, is to go up there. They'll let you know, and you can actually see the courses that they have registered. So the next question then is, what if something I completed is not on the PDE website? A, call the HR office. B, log into mylearningplan.com, or C, contact the provider. Gene wants to answer it, but what is the answer? I get the phone call. You do get the phone call. It is C, contact the provider. Ultimately, and it does, this does come up based on the provider you're using for those Act 48 hours and how frequently or consistently they provide that information to the state. A lot of times you having to contact them does come into play. So, the bottom line here is that we just want to make sure as you start your career here that all those things are in place. Certainly if you've had your certificate for a few years now, make sure you're checking that. Our Human Resources Office, because we do have a vested interest in you staying active in your certificate, absolutely. So we do have ways to kind of check on individuals and making sure that things are getting done right around the time that we see an expiration date, but don't count on us. Don't count on us. Make sure you own that certificate. So if you are certified here in Pennsylvania, which you all should be, or I should say all, many of you are, then you definitely want to do that. So. Also, just a couple quick facts. PPID numbers, that's something you should really know and have available to you as you take Act 48 courses. That's how they actually do match you up in the system. So if you don't provide that PPID number, there's no way that's going to be recorded for you on the system. All right? And always pay attention when you're at a training, particularly with the university, as to what their procedures are. You got to really own that process, so we ask you to do that. All right. Has everybody here gotten access to professional growth, except for Aaron? You shouldn't have it yet, I don't think. But have you guys all been or have access to professional growth? Frontline right now, who is professional growth, also known as My Learning Plan. They're also the ones who oversee our ASOP or our absence management. So you really should, when you go into Frontline at this point, you should have access to go into the My Learning Plan module. That is how we track internal trainings. That is something that may be evolving over the next couple of years, but certainly at this point, you need to make sure you have an ID. We should be able to set you up when you were hired, but make sure you go in there and you can see exactly that you're in My Learning Plan correctly. So, and it's a way that we actually track a lot of our Act 48 hours internally that we give you through in-service and things like that. All right? So is there any questions on that? All right, I kind of wanted to go quickly there, but I know we're already a little bit behind with time. So I'm going to move on. Yeah, I think I've hit on that pretty good. Professional responsibility, but we're here to help. We want to have a quick breakout session. We want time for you, your mentor and mentee, to speak. So at this time, can you please kind of get with your mentor, talk a little bit about collaborative meeting planning, so when you guys are going to be able to get together, start setting up even some peer observation opportunities. We're going to give you just about, without getting behind, if you can do this in the next 5 minutes and just talk that through, we're going to then move on to our next part. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. We did, now that your mentors are gone, now that your mentors are gone, let's really talk about them. I feel like, no, you actually, I mean, we have a lot of mentors that have actually done this as a repeat performance, and we're very fortunate here at the Intermediate Unit, so we have some really great, more senior staff. So you guys are really in good hands with your mentors. So we have a few topics we want to cover here. The PA Professional Code of Conduct for Educators, which is a very important part of the state and how they oversee our teaching. We also want to talk about FERPA and confidentiality. And we're going to have a couple of our directors come up and go over some of the importance of both of those items, or FERPA and privacy. And then finally, we are going to talk about Act 82, which is educator effectiveness. So in order to start off, though, we're going to do a professional code of conduct. We're going to hand it over to Hannah, my assistant director, who, as you mentioned before, I'm sure a lot of you would have run into as part of that hiring process, and she'll go through that with us. So here you go, Hannah.
Thank you, Jack. Yep, great. All right, thanks, guys. So we're going to try and run through this pretty quickly because I know Jack mentioned we are a little bit short on time. I think we've narrowed down to like 26 minutes left. But anyway, the Code of Professional Conduct, also called the Code of Professional Practice and Conduct for Educators, as Jack mentioned, is set forth by the state and basically covers a lot of important rules, values, behaviors, attitudes, the interactions it really defines between educators, their students, your colleagues, your supervisors, and the general community. You have a handout in your folder. It's like a one-pager that actually goes over the various provisions of the Professional Code of Conduct. This is definitely something for you to reference and read through if you haven't already. It's online too. You can find it on PDE's website. They reference it as well. But some of the, as you can see, I think there's like 10, 11 different sections on there. I'm not going to go through all of them today, but what we're really going to kind of focus on is on section 4. And this really talks about the practices, which are basically, you know, the behaviors, the values, the attitudes that are kind of set forth for professional educators in the community. When you're a professional educator in the state of Pennsylvania, you really are expected by law to abide by these practices. I'm going to kind of skim through these, but a lot of these are pretty straightforward and simple. Talking about requirements. If you are a certified professional educator, there's a provision in here that requires you to maintain your certification. You know, we have to have you be properly certified unless you have some sort of emergency permit on a short-term or temporary basis. Professional educators are supposed to maintain high levels of competence, which is what we talked about with Act 48, is continual professional development, making sure you're staying current on the trends in your field. Let's see, number 4, making sure that professional educators are exhibiting, you know, consistent and equitable treatment of your students, being fair to them, being fair to your fellow educators, your peers, your supervisors, parents, making sure you're respectful as well. Similar, along the same lines, number 5, you know, being mindful of differing opinions, whether it's your personal, political, religious opinions, beliefs, whatever it may be, being mindful that we're all diverse. Your students are diverse, your colleagues and peers are diverse. We all have different beliefs, and making sure as a professional educator, you respect that. Number 6, and this is an important one. We're required to impart to our students the principles of good citizenship and societal responsibility. What does this mean? It means we need to embody these ourselves if we're imparting these onto our students. Being mindful of what you do off duty. Keeping in mind that as educators, you're in the public. How the public perceives you is very important. Don't end up in the news or anything bad. Please don't. Otherwise, you will see Jack and myself, and we won't be very happy with you. Be mindful about what you post on social media. How you communicate as well, keeping in mind that you're a professional educator, you're out in the community. What is your public persona? How do you want to be perceived by your students, your parents, your peers, your supervisors, and the general public? That's important. Don't do anything bad or illegal. Please don't. That's a nutshell version. Number 7, making sure we're professional in our communication. You know, be mindful of tone in emails, phone calls, making sure you're maintaining professionalism at all times, whether it's in-person interactions as well. Keeping in mind customer service here at the IU is very important. We, as I think Jack or Donna mentioned earlier on, you know, we're the ambassadors, or I think it was Dr. Landis, we're the ambassadors of the IU. We're out there in the field, we're interacting with students, parents, other school districts in the community, you know, being mindful of your communication and your interactions with everybody. Let's see, I'm going to kind of skip over 8, being open-minded. Number 9, keeping in confidence information that's obtained to you while you're in your work. A lot of you are going to be privy to a lot of confidential information about your students. We're going to talk a little bit more, I think, both Dr. Acosta and Dr. Laurie Waddell about FERPA. How many of you are familiar with FERPA? Hopefully everybody. They'll be giving you a little bit more of a breakdown as to what FERPA is and what our obligations as professional educators are with respect to FERPA. And then, let's see, number 10, making sure we're keeping our students safe. Another important practice as well. Are there any questions about the professional code of conduct for educators? Everybody understand? Straightforward, clear? Don't do anything bad. Don't do anything stupid. Don't be in the news for anything bad either. And then we'll be okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic over to both Dr. Acosta and Dr. Laurie Waddell, who I think are going to present on FERPA, give you a little bit more insight.
We're going to test your FERPA IQ before we're starting because we assume that you've learned a little bit about FERPA before you've come here, either in school or in a previous job. So go ahead quickly and answer those questions in the pre-test, true or false. Okay, who got them all right? Zach, you got them all right? Oh, okay. Okay. So, all right, a little bit about FERPA. So basically, this is the definition of FERPA, how it's outlined in the law. But what you're going to find is as you go through your job, there are going to be things that are not as clear as we have up here, okay? So I'm not going to read this to you, but obviously you know that FERPA is a federal law that protects the privacy of students. So oftentimes, people get confused about how this relates to specific situations, which is the purpose of the quiz, because the quiz is specific situations. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to see how this law, which you can read through, pertains to the questions on your sheet, and then we will give you the correct answers as per our attorney. Okay? All right. So Brittany, you want to start?
Okay, can you hear me? All right, question number 1. FERPA applies to students' education records, including health records maintained by the school or a party acting for the school.
And Zach should not get to offer his answer to that because that one's way too easy.
Do we think this is true or false? True. That's right, it's true. Question number 2. FERPA requires the consent of parents or eligible students who have reached 18 years of age or are attending a post-secondary institution before personally identifying information from education records is disclosed. There are exceptions in this general consent rule, such as disclosure of directory information, should parents object. Do we think this is true or false? You think it's true? Yep, it's true. All right, good. You guys are doing great. All right, number 3, schools must provide a parent with an opportunity to inspect and review his or her child's education records within 60 days of receipt of a request. What do we think? This one's tricky.
This one is tricky.
I think it's false.
You just say that, but you have to say why. Go ahead, Brittany.
So it is false. FERPA requires the educational agencies and institutions comply with a parent's request to inspect and review education records within a reasonable period of time, but no longer than 45 days after receiving parent request. So good job. You guys are doing great.
All right, number 4, schools must individually notify parents of their FERPA rights by mail. It's a little tricky. Number 4, so what one we're on 4, right? 4 is false. Schools are not required to mail to each parent the required FERPA notifications, but they must provide the notice by any means that are reasonable to inform parents or students of their rights under FERPA. But they do not have to be mailed. That was the tricky part. All right, number 5. Going out to Zach for this one. Zach, you're going to do number 5, okay? Here we go. I'm going to give you the mic.
Oh, cool, I get to read it.
Yep.
To be considered, thank you. To be considered an education record, information must be maintained in the student's cumulative or permanent folder. True or false?
Which one is it? Give the answer, too. We're testing to see if you can read.
Well, I wrote false. The terms cumulative folder and permanent folder do not appear in FERPA. The term education record is broadly defined in FERPA as any record that is, 1, directly related to a student, and 2, maintained by an educational agency or institution or by a party acting for the agency or institution.
Good. Anybody else want to go out on a limb for the next one? We love parent or audience participation. I will call on you.
School nurse records are not subject to FERPA, but are subject to the HIPAA privacy rule. I put true. I was wrong.
Go ahead.
It's false. Okay, it says school nurse records are subject to FERPA because they are education records. Education records, including individually identifiable health information contained in such records that are subject to FERPA, are specifically exempt from the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996 privacy rule. The reason for this exemption is that Congress, through FERPA, previously addressed how education records should be protected.
Awesome. All right, the last one. Does anybody want to volunteer for the last one? Go ahead.
Thanks. In a legal separation or divorce situation, both parents have the right to gain access to the student's education records. I put true. Am I right? Okay. True. FERPA provides rights to either parent regardless of custody unless the school has been provided with evidence that there is a court order, state statute, or legally binding document relating to such matters as divorce, separation, or custody that specifically revokes these rights.
Okay, thank you very much for your participation. I'm glad, I think by examples, like I said in the beginning, I think by providing examples, maybe it gets you a better understanding than just reading the FERPA requirements. My recommendation for all of you is as you come up with situations that might be questionable like these, you reach out to someone if you have a question who might be able to provide you with the answer. And so we have several people who can provide guidance on this, and if we don't know the answer, we certainly know where to get it for you. So I hope that is a brief kind of summary of what FERPA is. I'm sure you're going to have situations that come up that you're going to need help with, and we're more than happy to help you. All right, thank you. All right, and we have Jack and Hannah. Hannah?
All right, Teacher Evaluations, Act 82. So by now, all of you should have received an email from me. It went out on Monday, basically notifying you, letting you know which evaluation process cycle you're on. As obviously new employees and as part of the teacher induction program, all of you will be receiving formal observations, being on the formal observation process, especially in your first year. If you are non-tenured, you're also in it for the first 3 years. And then eventually you'll be able to shift over to what's called differentiated supervision. So there's basically 2 modes if you're familiar with the educator effectiveness model. The one that we're going to pay particular attention to is the formal observation process. So did all of you guys get the email from me on Monday? Hopefully, no? Are we missing some? Okay, I'll have to check on that. Sorry about that. But anyway, so as new educators, you guys are required to be evaluated. Act 82 is basically the provision of school code that governs this. Just see here. I think as we pointed out earlier, so Frontline is our online platform that we use for absence management. We use that also for online applications when people are applying for jobs. And we also use it for our evaluation system. Our My Learning Plan is also in there, and that's for internal trainings that you guys do, professional development and service stuff throughout the year. So our formal observation process is all done through the electronic system, and then at the end of each semester, you'll be given semi-annual evaluations, basically on an 82-1 or 82-3. That's where you're kind of rated either, proficient, distinguished, needs improvement, hopefully not, or unsatisfactory, hopefully not, nobody in this room. So you'll get 2, like I was mentioned, semi-annual evaluations. You're also going to be observed by your supervisor. So your supervisors over the next few weeks will be reaching out to you, trying to schedule some formal observations where they'll come in, and if you're in a classroom environment, they'll be scheduling time to come out and see you and formally observe you. They'll be providing you feedback. You'll be meeting with them, discussing it. If you're not necessarily in a classroom, they will they'll still schedule time with you to meet with you and talk to you about maybe observing a meeting that you're conducting, an IEP meeting, for instance. So it can look like various ways. So your supervisors will be in touch, hopefully in the next few weeks. Let's see here. A couple things to note. So February 7th is our first deadline where you have to get your formal observation and your first semester evaluation, your mid-year. And there's another deadline in May, end of May. That's when your end of the year evaluation is done. So your second formal observation has to be done by then as well. A lot of this you don't have to memorize today because it's all up online. We have resources on our Connections site, which is our MCIU Connections. Hopefully all of you have had an opportunity to go online. We talked about it as part of new employee orientation. But if you need a refresher, it's usually if you go into Launchpad or if you open up one of your internet browsers, it's like should be the default site that pops up. It's an intranet SharePoint site. Definitely poke around there, especially being new employees. There's a lot of resources and information. But if you go on there specifically looking for evaluations, it's under like documents and forms, evaluation process, and there's a lot of user guides out there for you. So it'll walk you through how to log into the Frontline Professional Growth System. We've got some like pictures and instructions. Rubrics are all up online as well. So definitely look at that. As Jack mentioned, we added 2 new rubrics this year, framework rubrics for case managers and speech language pathologists. But all of you should have a rubric that you'll be using as part of your evaluation process, so make sure you're familiar with it because this is how you're going to be evaluated. And there's a few other resources up on there as well. But certainly if you have any questions about the evaluation process, certainly reach out to your supervisor or you can reach out to us in HR and we'll help you as well. Any questions on that? I kind of went through that pretty quickly. No? I will look into figuring out why you didn't get an email from me. But anyway, if there's no other questions, then I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic back over to Jack.
I did want to just take a couple of minutes as we close out here tonight. You just heard a little bit about the professional code of conduct. For the state level, we also heard about FERPA. My experience, and something that's fairly, as technology has really come into play in education, I've seen more issues with otherwise good teachers, good educators getting themselves in trouble with technology. There is really no such thing as privacy on the internet. And I think as you go about your personal life, and it certainly is a personal life, I have had to deal with more situations where you think you're doing something outside of work, it's not part of your job here at the intermediate unit, but somehow somebody who, for no other reason, they have a child that's either under your care or supervision, sees something about you or you forgot to lock down your account the right way, has created issues for us as an intermediate unit. When it goes back to that kind of good citizenship and societal responsibility, your reputation, even as somebody in your private life, people don't distinguish that. So please make sure as you're thinking about the internet and as you're dealing with technology, and we certainly are very much in that world of social media, that you are paying attention to that. And that as much as you may think, oh, I'm allowed to say certain words or allowed to put certain pictures up because it's my private account, that ultimately there's the things that, trip us up and have us to, hey, have to bring you in and talk to you about some things. So don't want to stay on that too long, but I just seen it recently, and it's interesting because I think it's something generational, but there is a very, kind of a transparent, if it's, what's on here, it's all together, guys. So please make sure you do that. In terms of FERPA, that is a huge piece of what we do. We actually, just because of the nature of the students that we're dealing with, and the families that we're dealing with and the sensitive nature, particularly with students with significant special needs, please reach out if you don't know. There's no problem with not knowing something. All right, so as a new employee, you don't need to know every regulation of FERPA. You don't need to know, every piece of it, but you need to know what you don't know. All right, you need to understand that. You need to make sure if you have others in your class, teacher assistant support that may not have that background in education, that they also, are aware of that, and you're finding out the answers. We have just a tremendous group of supervisors who have been in this profession for a long time, have worked in special education for a long time, are in regular education and early childhood. So we really do have experts in these areas, and they also have access to legal folks who have answers for you. Just don't trip yourself up on that, because that does ultimately lead to more contentious situations with our families and our parents. So please pay attention to those items, and just know what you don't know. And if you have any questions, reach out and get those answers. All right. Finally, in terms of the next steps with this induction, the calendar does have us with office meetings. We are hopeful that between now and then, I should say, you are actually going to be getting together with your mentor and really spending some time and obviously asking those questions and getting answers that you need to be successful. So. Is there any final questions? We kind of finish up the night. I know you guys have been here because you guys many of you were at the pizza party at 4:30, right? So learning about the EA. So I know it's been a long evening. Any questions though? All right. You will see emails coming out from either our office, maybe from the HR office or your own office with a lot of different things. If you ever have any questions as you're going through, please reach out to us. Don't ever feel badly about hitting reply and asking a question or picking up the phone and calling one of us. We really want you to be successful here at the intermediate unit. We need you to be successful, frankly, because I think Dr. Landis mentioned we are all ambassadors out there. The intermediate unit really is dependent on all of our great resources, human resources that we have here throughout the intermediate unit. So it's critical that you're successful. Your success is our success. So please never hesitate to pick up the phone and ask a question. Otherwise, good luck. All right, and get back out there. I know you guys have been on the job. So thank you very much.